What is up? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to remind you guys that this month is National Volunteer Appreciation Month. It totally is. And I haven't even mentioned that at all tonight. But the whole month of April, which to me is super ironic, it is my month. It's National Volunteer Appreciation Month. So each week we're going to have a volunteer for breast cancer can stick it on the show tonight. And so, very next one up is Miss Rue Fox. How you doing, Rue Fox, in the house?
Hi, April. And even though my name isn't April, April's my birth month too. So it's my month too.
See, we rock. All the cool kids are
See?
born in April, man. That's so awesome. Thanks so much for coming on the show tonight. I'm really excited to have everybody meet you. You're kind of my partner in crime. We meet every week as you're part of the social media crew. Why don't you tell everybody about what you do for Breast Cancer Can Stick It, Rue?
Oh my goodness. It's so much fun to volunteer for this group. I volunteer for their social media team. And I've been slacking a little bit lately. I apologize, but it's my responsibility to go and find everybody's birthdays when there's a drummer birthday or when there is any kind of silly holiday and make silly posts on Facebook about it. So, there's things like National Frog Day and that kind of stuff that are just silly days that we should talk about. So that's what I do.
My favorite one is National Talk Like a Pirate Day, which is in
I
September.
love that.
It's like arg. So I love that day.
Arr.
It's one of my favorite days
Well,
for
look,
sure.
see, I'm kind of a parrot because I'm wearing a Hollywood Beach, Florida hat.
Oh, you are. You're just like a pirate. You need like a patch or
Yes.
something. We need to get you a patch. And you also have like revived our LinkedIn too. So like if people want
That's
to go
right.
to our Breast Cancer Can Stick It website, breastcancercanstickit.org, there's actually a bunch of social media icons and LinkedIn is one of them. So we have a LinkedIn presence and you can check that out. Rue has really revived that and keeping it fresh. You're working on that week after week. So thankful that you do that. And prior to that, you're like coming out to all the events and doing all that stuff. We're about to get back to all that, which is so exciting.
I can't wait. Actually, I'm such a music girl and I love all of the music people that I've gotten to meet. That's a side perk of doing this with you. But it's so much fun to be in the booth and to see people. And I'm so excited that we're going to get to do that. And like, what, about a month? I can't wait to be in that booth again.
I know, we haven't even announced it yet, so we should like
Oh,
announce it right now. No, like we'll like that's what's cool about doing the beat broadcast is like we can tell secret things and then it's like little nuggets within the broadcast that only the people
yeah,
watching get to see. So
yeah.
coming up on May the 10th, we're gonna be out at the Winger Show at Lava Cantina. The show starts at 7 p.m. and we're gonna have our breast cancer can stick it booth out there, raising funds at our booth, selling our official merchandise. And what's
And I'm
cool,
going to be
yes, dude, and you're gonna be there, so that makes it even cooler. But we're gonna have our breast cancer can stick it masks on sale. Like you can walk up and buy a breast cancer can stick it mask, so you'll have that. So be sure and swing by Lava Cantina May the 10th. Super excited! It'll be our first freaking in-person event since like 2019. Rue.
I know. Like I'm totally out of practice because not only do I work this booth, but in my other real life, I work trade show booths too, and I haven't been in one in so long. So I can't wait to get in this breast cancer can stick it booth. I'm so excited.
We're gonna have fun. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show tonight, one of the things that I think is great about so many people is everybody has some kind of like big adversity that they've overcome in their life. And we were talking the other night about kind of what led you to get involved with Breast Cancer Can Stick It and just some of the things that you've gone through in your life. And you're such an inspiration with your story of adversity. And I wonder if you would mind sharing that with us a little bit.
I don't mind at all, actually. I lived just a fantastic rock star life and completely did not take care of myself at all. And I was going through life having what I thought was sinus headaches, and I was treating them with Tylenol sinus and overdosing on Aleve, and it just got to the point where that wasn't working, and my ankles were swelling really badly, and I really didn't know what was going on. And I laid down one night in my bed and I couldn't breathe, and so that was pretty terrifying. And since I live alone, I called 911. They came and got me, and because I had ignored high blood pressure for so long, I had an acute hypertensive crisis, which also forced me to go into kidney failure.
Oh
So I got to
gosh.
spend 8 days in the hospital. Um, and oddly enough, the high blood pressure is what got it, but getting my kidneys back to some sort of functioning thing is what took me so long to be able to get out of the hospital. And so, that's kind of life changing. I was a heavy smoker. I quit smoking right then because the doctor told me that if I ever did it again, I would die. So, that's kind of a little bit of a rude awakening. And then I just decided that I was really lucky, and I always have been had kind of a charm life. And um, I just felt like there was something that I needed to do to give back and be appreciative of all the things that I've been given. And I mean, when I started going to music shows and meeting all of you guys, and this just seemed like the perfect thing that, I could blend my love for music and my need that I felt that I should volunteer together. And so this has been so great.
And you are so awesome with our team. I mean, everybody just loves you. Whenever I first heard about this story from you, I had no idea. It was when the pandemic happened that I learned about it. But when you were laying there by yourself and you couldn't breathe, was it? I mean, what made you know that it was an emergency? Like you literally just couldn't take a breath.
Well, so it actually started out because I do travel for a living, and I was in a hotel in Houston, and my room was like 3 doors from the elevator, and I walked from the elevator to my room, and I was out of breath, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's really weird." And so I didn't really think much about it. I just thought, well, that was really weird. And, because again, I didn't really take care of myself. So I was always one to just brush anything like that off and continue about my merry way. And I had a sales meeting and then I had a sales dinner. And so I did my thing and um, left Houston the next morning to come back to Dallas, and got to Dallas and went out and met some friends and had dinner. And got home and was going to bed about midnight. And I did that. I laid down and I couldn't breathe and it freaked me out. So I sat up and I kind of paced around the room a little bit. And I'm like, all right, you got this. Just, take a breath and relax. You're going to be fine. Laid back down, couldn't breathe. And I'm like, okay. So what happened was I was in congestive heart failure, and so my body cavity was filling up with fluid. My kidneys couldn't process it. I couldn't breathe because I didn't have enough room in my cavity to breathe. I couldn't expand my lungs.
God, that is so terrifying.
Yeah, it was really scary. And so the third time I laid down and couldn't breathe and sat back up, I'm like, all right, that's it. I have got to call the hospital. I think I may be dying. And I mean, I guess had I probably not called 911, I may have died. And so when I got there, the ER doctor was, as some doctors are, somewhat in your face. And he's like, look, you're going to be really lucky if you come out of this normal. Like you probably are going to have some kind of brain damage. Um, I don't really know what your kidney function is going to be. And so I was really scared. It was really, really scary.
So, Rue, you mentioned earlier that you had high blood pressure that you hadn't really cared for. So, were you aware that you had high blood pressure?
That's a really so if I think about it, yes, it's my family all has it. It runs in my family. It's very common. Um, but I didn't really realize what the symptoms of it were because, when you just have a little bit of elevated blood pressure, you don't really notice it. And now looking back, I'm like, well, my God, no wonder I was having headaches and all of that. But I really didn't realize it was as severe as it was. So, I went years, and this is kind of funny because I have a lot of medical people in my family. I've got a cardiologist, I've got an orthopedic surgeon, I have lots of nurses, and I just went a long time without seeing a doctor, which was stupid.
Yeah, I mean, not yeah, but I mean,
I mean,
well,
stupid.
yeah, but you know, how do you say that? Yeah, Rue, you were dumb. Well, I mean, it's true.
I
It's like,
mean, my motto is, April, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough.
yeah, no kidding. That is a good motto. I mean, that's like one of the things that like I always just like say over and over is you got to be in tune with your body and find a medical team that you like truly trust
Yeah.
and take their advice, you know what I mean? Like I have my family has just been just just very I don't know how else to put it. I keep want to say like straight laced when it comes to medical stuff. Like when I was really little, I was going to the dentist every 6 months. I've gone to the dentist every 6 months my whole life, like as
Good.
long as I can remember. I have an annual exam with my gynecologist every year. I have an annual physical, but I do everything. And I have doctors in my life that I truly trust. And if I don't like a doctor, I am out of there. I'm like, no. And like I have the slightest thing, I check it out. And I'm glad that I have because if we had a whole other segment to tell my
Obviously,
life
yeah.
story, I have tons of crazy stuff that has happened to me in my life that it's very good that I've been on top of that. But it is so important to take care of your own health. And earlier, Rue, you said, and again, it's like usually when I talk to other people, I'm like, hey, is there stuff you don't want me to talk about? And I didn't do that with you because you're my friend, and so I didn't even think to ask you that. But please,
I'm an open book pretty much
okay,
anyway.
because you mentioned earlier, you said I was living like a rock star. Do you care to expand on that and explain what you mean? Like, and I'm only asking you to say that because I'm not trying to say, oh, don't drink or don't smoke, but I'm talking like, what the hell did you do, dude? What'd you do?
Okay, so I mean, when you think about a rock star life, so remember, I'm in sales and I travel, and we get to go to glamorous places, and we get to go to expense account dinners and all of those things, and conferences in Vegas and conferences in Miami and all the great cities. And along with that life comes party, and it's party and it's drinking and, smoking and staying out all night. And, when you're younger, you can, of course, do those things and still function. Now, there's no way I could, even if I wanted to. But, I just kind of burn the fuse at both ends. And I would go for 2 or 3 days and on a business trip, and I'd get 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night and not drink enough water and not eat healthy, eat whatever was available and easy and quick and just all of those things. And so when I say rock star, I kind of mean wild abandon, but within a little bit of boundaries because I do have a respectable job. So I can't really go crazy, crazy and
Right,
tear up
right,
the
right.
hotel rooms and things,
You
right?
weren't like
But
throwing TVs
uh,
off the 12th floor balcony or anything like that. You're not like with Motley Crue or anything.
I don't think so.
Not that I remember, but and it's so funny because like it's true, dude. Like you cruise along in life and you just think, what because well, I mean, I was an alcoholic, so like I did that really hard, and I'm very fortunate that I didn't, do it late into my life, or I'm sure I would have had the same kind of problems, but I mean, I was gonna kill myself by like wrecking into someone, or killing someone else or me or whatever. I mean, I'm not like a miracle be alive as far as that's concerned, but like people you just don't think about that stuff adds up. And you mentioned, I thought it was cool that you mentioned the water thing because like people don't realize how important it is to drink
It's really
water.
important.
Like
It's
you have
really
no
important.
idea. Like dude, I suck at it. I have to work really hard to drink enough water every day,
I
especially
do
to
too.
counteract my caffeine intake. We had an interview, dude. We had an interview with a woman on the beat a couple of weeks ago, and she's a lymphedema therapist, massage therapist, and she was talking about how bad coffee and caffeine is for your blood. It's just, she said it just makes it just like so thick and gooey, and it's just not good for your blood. She goes, life hack, drink a bunch of water and you can counteract that. So drink a bunch of water, and I'm really bad about it, but drinking water is so important.
It is.
And going easy on the alcohol, and this all like ties back to breast cancer too. I mean, these are things that are important across the board. It's
Yeah.
not just for not getting in a position where you have high blood pressure
Right.
or congestive heart failure or whatever. It's also preventing or lowering your risk of breast cancer and things. So it's a really important story. Wow. So tell me what happened. So you go in the hospital for 8 days. You're like probably scared out of your brains, man. I could only imagine.
You know, um, so the really weird thing was, as soon as I got out of the ICU or out of the emergency room, I really wasn't afraid anymore because I had doctors who were much nicer to me than the emergency room doctor was. And in fact, I was so not afraid that I didn't even call my family and tell them what was going on. Of course, I mean, it was midnight, right? It was in the middle of the night.
True. My mom would be like, "You call me." Like my mom, like if I when I lived at home till I was a little later in life, and she was like, "I don't care if you're gonna be home past 3. If it's 2 o'clock, you call me." Like my mom's always called me. Call your mother, Rue. Call your family.
My sister was so mad at me. She's like, I am so mad. I can't believe you didn't tell me. And I'm like, I'm telling you now. I mean, I just waited until it was like, the next day, like until it was daylight again. And by that time, they had pretty much gotten my blood pressure under control and they had moved me into a regular room. And so um, it wasn't I didn't feel like it was that life threatening that I needed to get her out of bed and have
Yeah.
her, in the middle of the night show up there, but man, oh man, she was so mad at me.
Yeah,
I was
I bet
in such
so.
big
Well,
trouble.
and I'm just I think to your point, what did you say? You said if you're gonna be stupid,
If
be
you're gonna be
tough.
done, you gotta be
Be
tough.
tough. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
because I mean that is tough because I mean I would be just like a little baby, just like I need somebody here. I need like a whoopee of some kind, and you went there and you're just like I'm on it. You like took care of your own self, and wow, crazy.
But I think, I'm single and I've been single, and so I think that is just part of being used to being by yourself and, being a little more self-sufficient just because you have to be. And so that never really even occurred to me. I mean, I kind of felt like I did the responsible thing by calling 911 and unlocking my front door.
You're like I'll take care of myself. Go phone and unlock the door. I mean. Gosh, that is so scary. So you mentioned also that oh, you know what? I keep forgetting. I need to give a shout out to some people who are watching real quick, Rue. Tori is still in the house. What's up, Tori? Mike Carney is here. And Mike Davis says, Woo!
Hi,
Mike is
David.
watching you. Uh, and who else is here? Brenda, who was our guest a moment ago, is watching. Brenda's in the house, amazing breast cancer survivor and domestic violence survivor too. Tim is in the house. Bill is hanging out. So thanks everybody for watching. But you mentioned earlier that when you went to the ER, that the doctor was like all up in your Kool Aid, and he was just like, "You got to quit smoking. You got to make some changes." And they just knew everything off the bat. They probably could tell everything you'd done in the last
Pretty much.
couple weeks. They were like, "We know what's happening with Rue. We took a strand of her hair and we went and checked it all out. We know everything for every day of the week. Oh, there's Saturday again. There's Friday again." But they told you to make some changes. So what changes did you make? Like, what are the major changes that you made at that point?
Well, instantly, of course, I quit smoking and never had another one. And then I have to, oh, this is the worst. I have to control my sodium because when you have sodium, it makes you retain fluid and it makes your heart and kidneys work harder. And I've only got the function of one kidney, and my heart is not supposed to have to work that hard. So I had to make a drastic change in my diet, and I did. And most days, even for the first couple of years, I was terrified that if I ate a single grain of salt, that I was going to be in big trouble. Of course, that was 6 years ago, and so I'm a little braver now, and I do eat worse than I should now, but I still monitor it and I'll go a day and have bad and then, I'll make up for it the next day with good. So, that is probably the biggest takeaway. And then the other thing, and this is probably this is really funny, but it's probably one of the most devastating ones is I can never have another Aleve.
What's
And
that
a
about? I
leaf,
really, and a leaf. Why a leaf? What is it about that?
there is something about them, any NSAID, which is some kind of anti-inflammatory, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, um, they have an impact, they have a bad impact on your kidney function. And so, I can't I the doctor just told me no more of those. No more, no more. And so that really is like that's the best pain reliever when you have an ouchie or when you have any issues. That's the best thing for me that always relieved all my pain. But doctor's like, yeah, no more of that. So
Well,
no more of that.
and as we get older, that's like a really a big thing. Like I know from my back and stuff like that, I turn to a leave,
Yeah,
or Advil or whatever. Yeah,
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, and so that is tough. The only thing that I'm allowed to take Claritin every day for my allergies, and I'm allowed to take Tylenol twice a day if I need to, and that's all.
Wow. And did you have to change your alcohol intake at all with everything?
Um, I did, but not they didn't tell me I had to. I just did because I changed part of it was when I came out of the hospital, and I am still on this ridiculous cocktail of medication, like, I take, like, 15 pills a day.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
so
And
ridiculous.
is that to for your kidney
For my kidneys and
function
my blood
and
pressure,
blood
yeah.
pressure? Yeah. Wow.
And I hate it. I absolutely hate it, but for the first year, I was really, like, super zoned out on all that medication until my body adjusted to it, and so, I slept a ton because I was one of those that, like I said, I would sleep 2 or 3 hours a night, and then suddenly I'm sleeping, like, 10 or 12 hours a night, and so just by default, that kinda altered my party life and my, my crazy going wild drinking days and being out all night and partying like that. So that altered that for sure.
Wow. Yeah. And so now, like I said, the whole point of this coming up between us, like, cuz you've been volunteering for breast cancer constituents since 2016. So 5 years, woohoo. And when the pandemic began, you were staying home like
Oh, yes,
exclusively, and I was
yes.
staying home too due to medical issues and stuff. And that's when you told me about this whole thing. So tell everybody a little bit about what the pandemic has been like and what your doctor asked you to do and how that affected you.
Yeah, my doctor, so I'm, with my underlying health issues, I'm categorized as high risk. And my doctor pretty much just told me, and of course, this was in the beginning, so everybody was really afraid and nobody really knew what was going to happen. But my doctor pretty much told me that if I got it, my kidneys would not make it. And so I really needed to stay home and isolate. And so I pretty much stayed home and isolated. And that was the worst probably 10 months of my entire life. Like, I'm such a people person and I do travel and I do, I'm always with people. That's how I get my energy. And so it's been really hard to adjust. I was very diligent and I watched everything about all the vaccines. And I was like, the minute they said they were going to be available, I just started pushing buttons and pushing buttons. And so I was number 3,300 in Denton County to get the first shot. Um, so I got my first vaccine in early January.
Which is
And
amazing because like a lot of people are just now getting their first
I
shot.
know.
So that's really
Yeah,
great.
I was
But you were on a
relentless.
a list essentially because you were
I
considered
was.
high risk, and so they had you were part of the first phase of people that was allowed to even get the vaccine.
And I was determined. I was like, I don't care what I have to do. I don't care if I have to climb mountains or jump off buildings or whatever it is. I'm getting the shot. And the funny thing is once they announced that they were going to release it, I booked a trip to Mexico, and I booked a trip to Mexico the first week in March. And I was like, I'm going to make sure that I have my shots in time to go on this trip. And so I was on a mission and I got my shots, and I got my second shot 2 weeks to the day that I got on an airplane and went to Mexico. So I was determined.
That's so awesome. You're like, I'm out. And so as soon as and your doctor is like, were they pretty much like, yeah, get the vaccine and then you can just go back to life? It was he.
No, my doctors, neither of my doctors had any idea how I was ever gonna get the vaccine because the kidney doctor that I have, they were not administering it, and at that time, my primary is at Baylor, and they had not started administering it, and she's like I mean, I called them, like, every week going, "When can I get on this wait list? How can I do this?" And they're like, "For God's sakes, quit."
They're like, leave us alone, travel girl. Chill out. The party will wait, Rue.
Y'all don't understand. I am sitting here by myself crying my eyes out every day. I'm losing my mind. I've got to get this shot. And so both of them were like, when we can start administering it, we'll let you know once. And I don't even think we're ever going to. And so I just was like, that's it. I'm just calling the health department. And so I got on lists for Denton County and Tarrant County and Dallas County and Collin County and everything I could think of in between.
Wow. And so did you let them know that you had gotten it and were they, I mean, obviously they were cool with you receiving the vaccine and they were like, yeah,
I didn't
get
even
the
ask
vaccine.
him.
Yeah.
I didn't ask.
You're just like, I'm getting it.
No, yeah, I didn't even ask him, and I haven't seen them. I'll see them next month. I will see both of them next month. I didn't even ask him. I'm just like, I'm getting it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know,
It was
it one thing I forgot to mention earlier, you said something about that how you get your energy is from other people, and I love that because I don't know if you've ever heard me, like I tell my story many different ways because there's so much to it, right? And
yeah.
one of the things that I always say is when I was going through breast cancer, that I would get in those kind of really low points, and I just would invite get a friend or two to come over because I just needed that like energy that
Mm,
positive energy. It's a real thing. I mean, you really do get that energy from people, and it's so important. And I mean, you were so diligent, Rue. Like you were so awesomely diligent about taking care of yourself through the pandemic. Because I know that a lot of people were just like, screw it, man. People who were high risk. I know a lot of people who were high risk. They were just like, screw it. I'm just gonna go out there. And speaking from like my cousin who had a
oh, yeah,
double
what a great
yeah, a
story.
double lung transplant and a liver transplant, and then, the first week that the state was shut down, he was hospitalized with COVID. I mean, knowing how big of an impact that had on him, I just worried that, that could have happened to you with as fragile as your innards are, you know? Hey, this is my
I'm such
friend.
a delicate
This is
flower.
this is my friend Rue. She's got delicate innards. She's awesome. Meet my friend Rue. That's awesome. But yeah, seriously though, I was so proud of you for how much you took care of yourself, and I know how hard that was for you to stay home, but you were so diligent about taking care of your health, and you knew that if you were to get COVID, that it would be very, very bad for you. It could be very, very bad for you.
Well, and that goes back to what you said earlier about me making changes in the way I take care of myself because had this happened pre 2015, I would have just been like, I ain't scared. COVID's COVID. It ain't gonna hurt me. And I never would have even given it a second thought. I would have just been right out there, right in the middle of everybody and everything and all that. And because I was pretty fearless. I mean, that's one thing I will tell you is it doing something like that, going through something like that with, being so sick, that really does, as bring your mortality close to you. And so it really does change the way you look at things.
Yeah, man, it totally changes your perspective. It really,
Yeah, it
really
does.
does. And it's interesting, Rue, because like some people, when they are faced with death like that, or their mortality like that, some people are like, "Well, I have got to party every day now. Like I got to go crazy." And some people go the whole other direction. But more often than not, I do see people more like you and I, where it's like you realize how fragile life really is, and you love living it so much. You want to
Yeah,
live it as long as you
yeah.
possibly can, and get every ounce of it out of it that you can. So, I'm just really glad that you took care of yourself, especially after hearing about everything you had gone through and learning about this huge adversity you had to overcome with hospitalized and everything's so scary, and I'm so glad you're on the other side. So now how often are you going in to see these doctors about your blood pressure and your is there something that they do to check on your kidneys at a certain frequency?
I do blood work every 6 months, and I go to the doctor every 6 months, and then every once in a while, if my kidney function starts going wacky, then she'll make me come in more often. And so,
Yeah.
we haven't had to change my medication that much, but, there's a couple of things that we've kinda added and taken away. So, she's really awesome.
That's good.
Um, she really kicks my butt when she needs to kick my butt.
Right.
And, the one of the one of the downsides of this is, when you have kidney failure and you retain fluid, your ankles swell real bad. And, I beg her to, let me have a fluid pill, and she won't. She's like, "No, you can manage this with the sodium content. You just need to keep doing that." So she's tough. She won't give in to me. And then I beg her to take me off my statin because I want grapefruit juice. And she's like, "No, no, you need to keep taking that one. I don't need to change you." And so, she's tough, but I really credit her with really saving my life. My cardiologist as well, but mostly my kidney doctor. She's awesome.
That's awesome. Man, it's such like I said earlier, it's so important to have a medical that you trust, in your corner like that. So,
Yeah.
do you ever have like between visits, do you ever have any symptoms or have you ever had any problems since then where you're like, oh, this whatever is happening, you need to have to go in or that's led to some issue or anything?
I mean, I've had some really weird things happen where I've had some issues, and I actually had to be tested for lupus, and I'm very close to right there at the line, but like just right below it. So they can't classify it as lupus, but and whatever it is with that right now, it's in remission, so it doesn't bother me so bad. But the odd thing about that is one of the blood pressure medications that I was taking at the time presents lupus late in life. Like lupus usually happens when you're young, when you're like in your 20s and 30s is usually when they diagnose you with lupus. But the particular blood pressure medication that I was taking was causing lupus in people. And so she took me off of that. And, for after she took me off of it, it took me about 6 months. And I really haven't had any issues like I was having at the time. And so we both feel pretty secure that that was what was causing those issues.
Oh wow, I'm glad they were able to figure that out. I have a family member who had lupus, and I also have another friend who has lupus. So it's not really something you want to have to contend with.
No, and I think it's pretty tough. I feel like I was really lucky. I know that sounds weird that I can say, all those things and this medication that I was on made me have it, but I was really lucky that that's what it was. And I'm hopeful that it doesn't come back. So
Yeah, no
that's
doubt.
really all.
Yeah, so all that medication that you're having to take, just I mean, that's like a forever thing essentially, and then they just monitor you. Do you have any horrible side effects or anything from any of those medications?
Um, well, the only weird side effect that I have, and I don't know if it is from my blood pressure issue or if it's from one of my medications, but my vision is a little bit wonky. And so it's really interesting because, being in sales and having to do software presentations and um, having to think really quickly on your feet, um, uh, there's something that I feel like I'm still as smart, but I feel like sometimes I have to think about it for a second. And with my vision, I feel like I have I don't know, it's almost like cataracts, but I don't have cataracts yet because we've checked that. It's just something that it's hard for me to focus. It takes a minute for my eyes to adjust. So when I go to look at something from far away and then come close, it takes a second, a recognizable second for them to adjust. So I don't know if those are side effects from medicine or side effects from the actual issue that I had itself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad there's not like any major like, oh yeah, I have to poop every hour or something.
Nothing
You're
like that.
it's
I
like
don't
that I
have
have to.
anything odd coming on my ears or anything.
Yeah, nothing
Crazy.
constant green slime out your nose. It's great. I'm fine. Only could I say these things with you, Rue. Well, I would love to hear any like wisdom you have for people out there. Just after everything you've gone through, what would you like to pass on to everybody from your experience?
I mean, I think the most important thing is you hit it on the head earlier. And now I really am in tune with anything that feels weird or feels off. And so if you're feeling weird, if you're feeling off, your body's trying to tell you something. So just listen to your body. It's telling you something's going on. So just go to the doctor and tell the doctor what's wrong. It may
Mhm.
be nothing, but it's definitely better than
The
um,
alternative.
you know, self-treating what you think is a sinus headache and it turns into an acute hypertensive crisis is what it's actually called. My blood pressure was like 198 over 187 or something ridiculous like that. So it was really
Gosh,
bad.
that's so scary. I'm like on the whole other spectrum. I'm like, you know, 86 over 45, and they're like, "Are you dizzy?" And I'm like, "No, I'm fine." It's like the whole like polar opposite. It's like they're
Yeah.
they're like checking to make sure I have a heartbeat when I go to the doctor because my blood pressure. Well, cool. Oh, Kim Lusk is in the house, and she said, "Hey, Rue. Hey, April. What's up, Kim Lusk in the house, dude?"
Hi, Kim.
Well, I want to tell everybody out there that you can meet the great Rue Fox May the 10th at Winger at
Yes.
Lava Cantina here in the Colony, Texas. So if you're in the Dallas Fort Worth area, be sure to plan to come out to the Colony and see Winger May the 10th. We will be out there with the breast cancer ticket booth, and Rue will be there with her big smile, hanging out and helping sell a lot of official breast
Trying to
cancer
get you to
ticket.
put some donations in a
Yes.
jar or something.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. Man, I can't thank you enough for joining the
Uh-oh.
show tonight, girl. You still there? Uh-oh. I was just about to end it with her whenever that happened, but she might have pressed a wrong button, but she said, "Uh-oh," and then she dropped, but I was about to close it out with Miss Rue Fox just now anyway, so that is all fine. I want to thank Rue for joining the broadcast. Oh, she's back. Hey, she's back. It looks like you're. Oh wait, let me see if I can hear you. Go ahead and talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we have her back,
Yay.
guys. Yay!
Yeah, my internet connection I got a little notice right there that my internet connection was messed up. So
You
I'm
were,
like,
you're like,
oh.
oh, and then you froze. We're like, oh no, it's goodbye. But we were wrapping it up and just reminding everybody that they can come meet you in person May the 10th, Lava Cantina for the Winger Show. We'll be at the Breast Cancer Ticket booth that evening, so I hope everybody can come out. And Rue, girl, thank you so much for joining the show tonight. It was so cool to get to chat with you. I know that
It
we've
was
done
so
this a few
fun.
times, but getting the full stories, so inspiring, girl. Thank you for sharing your story of adversity and overcoming that. I know you'll be an inspiration to many who watch tonight.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, April. This was so much fun.
Thanks for coming, girl. I will see you on May the 10th in person. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
See you later, Rue. Have a great night.
Bye.
Guys, that was Miss Rue Fox, a wonderful, amazing volunteer for breast cancer constituents. So excited to have had her on the show tonight. Now,